hopefully my microphone is going now. Thank you all to who notified me. Hopefully it's up and going. As I was going through in the intro, it's been a long week. It's been a stressful week, but we are going to be here for some Showdown content. So if you are new to myself or the content that I create, welcome. But apologies for the technical difficulties there. For whatever reason, OBS decided that it wasn't going to recognize my microphone. Technology is wonderful. But hopefully you all have a good week, or have had a good week. As I've mentioned, this is going to be quite laid back, different than my Sunday, Monday, Wednesday shows. You can hear probably a little bit of music in the background, and if that's distracting, let me know. I can turn it down or whatnot. But there's no way I would be able to sit here in silence. I'd go absolutely apeshit. And what I'll call my second regular will probably make an appearance at some point, make her presence known. But we are here for some Showdown content, especially get ready for the contest at the Houston Open for Saturday and Sunday. I am probably going to mostly focus on the weekend contest. I tried my hand at that last week thanks to a recommendation from a viewer via Twitch named James, and I really liked that contest. The draw, at least for me, to a weekend contest is that the placement doesn't matter. So once a player makes the cut, the slate is wiped clean essentially, and you are just trying to pick the best performers from Saturday and Sunday. So there will be no benefit to taking, or no extra benefit, I guess I should say, to taking Tony Finau simply because he's in first. So I really like that kind of competition, especially somebody who is so statistics minded and analytics focused, that I can see and focus who is really overperformed, underperformed, and all that stuff. But James, thanks for jumping in chat per usual. Let me get my setup all going here in the way that I want to. I'm still working on gathering the last little bit of material or data that I want to help you all analyze. I have grabbed everything from the tournament so far, and we're going to really look at this heavily. This is Fantasy National. They have a live statistics page, or a couple of pages, and again, one of the biggest reasons why I am always going to advocate that you become a member at Fantasy National. It is an amazing tool, and I would not be able to do what I do without it. So I am not going to take any credit for the majority of this stuff. I mean, this is all able to be done because of Fantasy National. I've also grabbed a little bit of info from ESPN, and we will take a look at that here after a little bit. And I've also brought up Windfinder as well. But let me get the last little bit of info that I'm wanting to grab here. And that means I need to come back to Fantasy National and grab a particular set of data for before the tournament. How are my lineups doing? My lineups are either very good or very bad, which is kind of what you want. I have a very strong 6 of 6. The unfortunate part of that is that I put it in the cheapest contest, it is what it is. But it is a very strong 6-6. It has Aaron Wise, Patrick Rogers, who's made a huge run, Ben Taylor, who's somebody who I thought might have an outside chance at a decent tournament at 6,300. Threw him in a lineup, and he is -6, and he is performing very well. Wyndham Clark. So that lineup is very, very strong. It does not have Tony Finau, unfortunately. I've got 3 lineups with Tony Finau. That happens to be one of them that doesn't. Kind of stinks, but it is what it is. That 6-6 lineup is doing very well. I have a very strong 5-6 with Finau and Wise. I think Wyndham Clark as well. But Mark Hubbard is going to miss the cut by a long time. He's already been disqualified, so that's not a 6-6 at all, but a very strong 5-6. And then I've got some that went 3-6. Dean Burmester was quite a disappointment. Lee Hodges was quite a disappointment. So quite a mixed bag, James. But when all is said and done, I would rather be in the situation that I'm in right now, having a 6-6 or a strong 5-6, and be in the top 20 to 30 in the contest, as opposed to having a lot of strong, 5-6s or strong 4-6s to get my money back. It all depends on if you're playing for the winning percentage and low rate of return, or if you're playing for the all or nothing, trying to hit or win the big contests, or try to win big in the contests. And obviously I'm trying to win big, winning percentage be damned, and that's why I am willing to take bigger chances. But as I'm talking, I am terrible at multitasking, so let me grab, like I said, this info that I'm wanting to grab. And the first piece of information that I'm wanting to grab is Bermuda putting. Memorial Park, we are on Bermuda greens. I am still not sure what the green speeds are here. I imagine they're fast, but with the rain that they have just gotten today and are going to get over the weekend, they might play to average. But I'm definitely wanting to grab this info here to use in comparison with how they have done so far in the tournament, as that is a big piece of the analytics that I do in terms of Showdown. So let me put this together very quickly, and then I'll explain what I have going on. Did you play any full field contests, James? If so, how are your lineups doing? If not, did you play any Thursday, Friday Showdown? If so, how are those doing? Otherwise, I am here now for the Showdown content that you are generally a big consumer of. Let's see, I am wanting putting, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. So Scheffler should be 55th in putting, and if he's 55th, we're looking good. Bingo. Okay, so okay, again, apologies. This needs to be Carl Yuan and Samuel Stevens. Like I said, getting a bit of a later-ish start, trying to grab everything for you all. And again, quite a much more laid-back atmosphere, as you can tell. Looking for Sam Stevens, and I probably passed him already. Sam Stevens. Samuel Stevens. Where are you? Rye, Rogers, Sink, Smalley. There's no way he was this expensive. Oh, this is sorted on putting. Stupid. Stevens. Was he really this good in his small little sample? Weird, he's not even in there. That's why I couldn't find him. Okay. Let me sort this. Okay. And I'll just have to find Stevens here in a second on a different tab. But this will give us what we are needing for now. Okay. Where is Sam Stevens on the leaderboard, in fact? Because if he is in danger of missing the cut, I might just remove him. Stevens. Sam Stevens. Oh, he is comfortably in, of course. Never going to be easy. So instead, round 2. And if you are watching via YouTube, by all means, please jump into chat. I have that chat active as well over here. So if I look to the right, that is where that be. Stevens, 52nd, close enough for me. So, bang. Okay. Now, so what I've done here, because the second round is not completed yet, we are not able to fully know who is going to make the cut and who isn't. Right now the cut is sitting at even par. In fact, I probably should have kept the leaderboard open. Right now the cut sits at even par. But even par sits at tied for 65th. And there are 13, 14 players here tied at 65th at even. My guess is that this cut's going to move to -1, because as soon as somebody moves to -1, all of these even scores will be outside the cut line. So that's my guess. My guess is that it's going to move to -1. However, for tonight and tonight's look into the data and my recommendations and everything like that, anybody who is still on the course at +1 or better, I am considering. So I have removed Kelly Kraft, I've removed Richie Wierenski, I've removed Henrik Norlander, so on down, Jimmy Walker, and it's very possible that they could make the cut. So if you have a question regarding a specific player, I'll be more than happy to answer that. But in general terms, I have removed anybody that is +2 or worse, or any of the players that have finished +1. Chad Ramey, Walker Lee, Gusto Nunez, all of these players are going to miss the cut. Danny Lee could still make it, Matt Wallace could make it, Sebastian Munoz, Justin Lauer, Sean Jacklin, just because they're still on the course, they have birdies they could get. So if you don't see a player that is still on the course, that is why. But I think these even par finishers, Kevin Tway, Nick Watney, Brandon Wu, Wes Moreland, and Paul Haley, I think they're in quite a bit of danger. I do. I think this cut is going to move to -1. So these players that are still playing at -1 have some work to do if they want to feel comfortable inside the cut line. That is what I think is going to happen. Of course, I I don't know for certain, but that would be my guess. So whenever we start going through this and you don't see a player, that is why. But one of the first things that I want to do is I want to compare their baseline putting performance versus there's the second regular. As I mentioned, she will probably make her presence known. But one of the biggest things that I want to do, and one of the biggest factors that I use, is to compare a player's baseline putting to what they have done so far this week. So I take their baseline minus their performance this week, and you see Scotty Scheffler has been 23 places worse than his baseline. Gosh dang it. And I do that for everybody in the field. Paste the values. I want to hide this so it's not confusing. And then I'll label this putt diff. So the putting difference, anybody who has been underperforming their putting is who I like to target. Or at least put an asterisk by, or put a note by them to see, all things being equal, they just haven't had a good putting week, and if things work out to the baseline, they should be better. I don't want base putt, I want putt diff. So you can see here, like Taylor Montgomery has been horrendously under his baseline coming in. Will Gordon, Harris English, Adam Hadwin, these players have been atrocious at putting this week, and they are normally, most of the time, decent on Bermuda, or at least decent in terms of their performance so far. Like, for example here, Zach Johnson, normally the 62nd best putter on Bermuda in this field, or I'm sorry, he has been 62nd this week. He's normally, 30th? So that's someone that you would probably want to take a look at, all things in a vacuum. These players have drastically underperformed their putting metrics. On the inverse, these players have drastically overperformed their putting this week, and I like to denote that as well. Somebody, for example, Justin Rose, he's normally a good putter on Bermuda anyway. He's 35th, but he's been 6th this week. S.H. Kim, the same. He's normally 38th, but he's 8th. Mackenzie Hughes has overperformed. Tony Finau, Ben Griffin, these players have drastically overperformed, and you can see some players have really, really overperformed. Trey Mullenhex, Justin Suh. So I like to get a feel for who has been overperforming and underperforming on the greens. Is this an exact science? Of course not. But it is a way where I start my Showdown look. Why is Taylor Montgomery highlighted in orange? Well, I'll bring you back to ESPN here, and this ESPN page has a lot of very, very good information on it. Ow. But I like to look at this course stats, and you can see here the specifics of it, how many eagles, birdies, pars, all that stuff, the scoring average, etc., etc. Well, there have been 2 eagles on par 4s this week. Hole 1 has 1 eagle. Hole 18 has 1 eagle. And then if there had been an ace on a par 3, I would also highlight that note, but there's been no aces this week. Well, Taylor Montgomery owns one of these eagles on the par 4s. I believe his was on the first. hole. So you cannot expect him to get an eagle, once around on a par 4. It just doesn't happen. So I've highlighted him in orange just to denote that his score is superficially low. He holed out. The other player that has the eagle on a par 4, I've already removed. It's Lee Hodges. He's going to miss the cut. Taylor Montgomery more than likely will miss the cut, but he is still on the course. He still has holes to play, so it's plausible he could make the cut. But anyway, so that's why I have Taylor Montgomery highlighted in orange. So after I've worked on this putting difference, I'm going to resort this for the salary. And again, this is a focus on the weekend golf contests, not any particular third round or fourth round specific, just the entirety of the weekend. And I'll be more than happy to give you my thoughts on just third round if you are so inclined. But somebody that jumps off the page to me that should be better than what he has played is somebody like Taylor Montgomery. His irons have been very, very good. He is generally very good in the wind. He's generally a very good putter, but he has not putt well this week. So all things, in the vacuum, or all things returning to normal, Taylor Montgomery has drastically underperformed. He should play a lot better. Now, I am not advocating you put Taylor Montgomery in a lineup just because it's a danger he misses the cut. But these are the kind of players that I'm looking for. I want to find players who we know have been ball striking it well this week. Say in the top 30 to 40 maybe, and who have drastically performed poorly on the greens, especially across their baseline. Look, for example, Sahith Theegala here. Theegala, he has not been the best with the irons, but it's not a disaster. He's been good in the wind. He's been very good around the green this week, but he's not been putting well. And he is normally roughly about 58th or so in putting on Bermuda. Again, not spectacular, but a lot better than what he has been doing the first two rounds. There's a lot to like here with Sahith Theegala. So I'm going to bold Theegala here and his numbers. He's somebody that jumps off the page initially as somebody who we could take a look at and exploit in terms of decent so far ball striking this week. Has drastically underperformed his metrics on the green, or on the greens. Davis Riley, somebody else too. I mean, he's hit tons of fairways. He's hit tons of greens. Noted by his 7th place standing in strokes gained approach. He's just been fairly bad on the greens. Great. That means my Bluetooth went out. Awesome. There's no way I'm going to be able to sit here without any music going, so let me get that going. Again, if the music's distracting, let me know. But I would be very hesitant to sit here in silence, as I would go bat shit insane. There we go. So let's see, someone else here that maybe perhaps like Will Gordon here, generally good in the wind as well. So these are some players that I'm kind of looking at generally, at least to start my research. Now, Will Gordon, for example, he's been a little bit more shaky than the other two, so I might not be as high on him, but I'm looking for players who have, generally speaking, have struck it well and drastically underperformed their putting. Adam Hadwin, for example, here, he has He's ball struck it immaculately, but has drastically underperformed on the greens. That's something to kind of take a look at. Harris English. Now, there are going to be reasons to be hesitant on some of these players. For example, Harris English has been terrible in the wind. But, again, my first criteria, I'm looking at who has ball struck it fairly well and underperformed their putting. Let's see. Robbie Shelton. Somebody else to probably take a look at. Brian Armour. Damn it. Damn mouse. All the way down here, like Eric Cole is somebody that James and I found last week that played exceptionally well over the weekend. Which, by the way, James, how did those lineups do last week? You said they didn't do too bad. Was it a break even? Was it a slight profit, slight negative? Be curious to hear how monetarily those lineups did, because some of the recommendations were pretty darn strong. Seamus Power went nuts on Saturday last week, so on and so forth. So I'd be curious to hear specifically on them. Okay, so now that we have this generalization of what we're looking for, let's take a look at some specifics around Memorial Park and what's been going on this week. So what I have up right here is the strokes gained view of the in-tournament stats page. And you can break it out round 1, round 2, etc. I just got all rounds going right now. And this is updated fairly constantly. It might be a hole or two behind, but it's updated, fairly constantly. So what I'm wanting to look at is, players who have hit their irons well, also been good around the green, good with putting. So I've grabbed all of that info over there, but I also kind of just like to look in terms of kind of color coding, just to kind of get a feel for things right off the bat. So in terms of strokes gained approach, you've got Alex Noren, who's been hitting the ball well. Siwoo, Adam Hadwin, Tyson Alexander, Finau, Knox. Again, somebody like Patrick Rogers, you can see why he has risen so much. He's top 10 in approach so far this week and 12th in putting. So if we come back over to here, and we'll see 8th and 12th, he's drastically overperformed his putting metrics so far. So it would say that, again, in a vacuum, Patrick Rogers should probably come back down to earth a little bit. He probably won't putt as well, meaning he probably won't have as low scores as we have seen these first 2 rounds. And then the other part of the Fantasy National live leaderboard is that you can take a look at round of par stats. Eagles, birdies, pars, all that. But you also have scrambling, greens, and fairways. I love this as well. So I've definitely grabbed this info as well, coming on over into Microsoft Excel. And this will look a little familiar, James. We tried to grab this last week, and we had to go to ESPN to just see fairways hit and greens and all that stuff. Whereas now we actually have the fairways gained greens gained and scrambling. So somebody, we can try to avoid some players who maybe have been scrambling their way around Memorial Park this week. Let's see. Some players who are bad in the wind, we're going to want to take with a lot of skepticism. Again, as I've mentioned, the wind has picked up today. Here is the forecast, and I'll reload it for you. Here is the forecast for the rest of the tournament. Not a lot of rain. In fact, no rain in the forecast now, but you see tomorrow winds sustained into the 14, 15 mile an hour, gusts into the 20s. That's going to be labeled moderate per Fantasy National. Fantasy National, it is sustained winds of 17 that is classified as windy. So these are definitely moderate, but I'm definitely going to use the moderate and windy condition because you never know. Now, Sunday could be interesting where it starts windy and actually gets better and better for scoring throughout the day. Now, both days are going to be chilly, but it looks better for scoring on Sunday afternoon. But I still want to see who plays well in the wind. So with that, with players that are generally pretty poor in the wind, I'm going to be a lot more skeptical. Players like Joel Damon, even though he has hit it well, he's been very good around the green. He's not been scrambling very well. He is the number one player in greens, but again, this number is going to make me very, very gun shy. Harris English, Davis Thompson, these players are going to be very, very, maybe very gun shy on these players. Let's see here. Is there anybody else that I can remove from here? I don't have their position only because I'm focusing on the weekend golf contests. Positioning won't matter. Macro, Gordon, Shelton. No, I don't think so. I'm gonna bring this off over here to the side, and if we need it later, we can grab it. But I think that's gonna be more in the way right now than anything. Let's see. James, last week was the first time I think I did the strokes gained approach difference, because I've always done putting difference. How did you like the baseline performance versus like approach? Because we've done that for putting a whole lot every time. Did you like the the ball striking difference as well? The fairways and the greens difference? So I'm going to start making kind of a list of players here. Like somebody like Scotty Scheffler is still very interesting. He's been scrambling well. Maybe a little bit concerning, but the irons have been there. He's been very good around the green. He is always going to struggle with fairways. That's just Scotty Scheffler. He's been fine with greens, and he's underperformed his metrics. Like Scotty Scheffler is also somebody that I would be very interested in a weekend type contest. Tony Finau actually not. You see, he's been the second best putter this week. He's normally 40th. Not terribly excited with that. Maverick McNeely is somebody that I would not be terribly excited about. Now, yes, he has drastically underperformed his putting, but he's been scrambling very, very well. He's not been hitting his irons. Same with Hideki. He's not been hitting his irons. not somebody that I want to focus on this week. So I'm actually going to remove Finau, McNeely, and Matsuyama from my considerations, just due to the fact that those are characteristics this week that I am concerned about. Scrambling here at Memorial Park is very difficult. Very, very difficult. So when a player has been scrambling successfully, I generally tend to think that they're going to come back down to earth. Same as with the putting. McCarthy has actually been hitting his irons okay. He's been hitting fairways. That's what he's known for. Like, McCarthy could be somewhat interesting if he makes the cut. That's probably something I need to do. Let me put the players that are kind of in jeopardy of missing the cut. That way we know how much to use or not use them. So I'm going to sort on name, if my mouse will cooperate. Okay. So Danny Lee is in a lot of jeopardy here. How do we want to denote jeopardy? Probably, I guess, with a little bit of light blue, maybe? Light blue meaning in jeopardy of missing the cut. Matt Wallace, Sebastian Munoz. And Lauer and Jacqueline are the ones that are at +1. It's going to take a lot for them to make the cut. They are going to have probably they need to find 2 birdies somewhere. Let's see. Eckroat and Will Gordon are still on the course and playing. Austin Eckroat, Will Gordon, Robbie Shelton, and Kevin Streelman. You can see some of these players I've got bolded, as in I would think about them. They seem to have underperformed, so perhaps they can finish out their second round strong, make the cut, and then go on a run. Molinari, Shank, Duncan, Montgomery, and Svensson. So we'll have to keep in mind that Taylor Montgomery also eagled one of the par 4, so his metrics are artificially a bit high. You never want to count on players just holding out on par 4s. And then the players who have finished it even, I'm going to denote in probably a deeper orange here. If I had to guess, these guys are going to miss the cut. I still think the cut is going to move to -1. Brandon Wu, Nick Watney, and Kevin Tway. Okay. Now, we will resort on salary. So again, like Aaron-wise, it seems to be fine. Like, he's been very, very good scrambling. That would give me some cause for concern, but he's hit a bunch of fairways. He's hit a bunch of greens. He's been right around his base. Like, he's just performed about as well as he should perform. McCarthy is kind of interesting because he's not normally a good ball striker, and he's been good ball striking. Like, Day I don't think I want any part of. Well, I mean, Jason Day has been okay. He's iffy in the wind. That's interesting. Taylor Pendrith, somebody that even though I have quite a few lineups with Taylor Pendrith, does not look to be promising. He's overperformed his putting. He has not been the best in terms of iron play. Yeah, I would tend to think that Taylor Pendrith is somebody that I would not want to focus on. Alex Noren seems like he should actually improve. And he's played extremely well. I wonder what his around the green metrics are like. So come back over here. I'm going to keep this on the wind. This is on the wind, and I've got it on average, like average per round instead of a total rank. Thought that might be interesting to see, as opposed, or in windy conditions. Single down showdown contest looks better than the weekend. If that's the case, then I don't mind doing a little bit of some specific players for like Saturday. But now that you have shown me the weekend golf type deal, I kind of like that. I kind of like not having to factor in their positioning and just who's going to shoot the best score. So I'm probably going to focus on that, to be honest. I want the last, date range. Let's just look at July 1st and see who has played, who's been done well around the green. Minimize that. And then bring that. Okay. So, going to want to look at players. This is, again, sorted based on around the green. Alex Noren. How's his around the green normally? He's normally 27th, so he's been underperforming his around the green metrics too. Now, you can see clearly he has been overperforming his strokes gained approach. He's normally 103rd. He's first this week, so you would think that comes back down. But if a guy is ball striking it well for a week, I don't know. Alex Noren seems to be somebody that I would be quite curious about this week, moving forward over the weekend. We talked about Joel Damon. Damon has been bad in the wind. Not particularly adept around the green. He's been terrible with scrambling. He's not a very good putter. Granted, this is all courses. So we can't really look at this putting because it needs to add this Bermuda filter. In fact, I kind of want to see, let's look at difficulty. Let's look at difficult courses. And then check around the green and such. Be interested to see that. Let's see where Noren is on that. 66, so yeah, okay. Performing right at his base for around the green. He's actually a much better iron player when it's difficult. It's good to note. Damon. He has overperformed his everything, basically. He's overperformed everything except for the putting. Yeah, Damon's somebody that I would be very, very, very cautious of moving forward. . Siwoo seems not good for the weekend. I think he has been overperforming. Yeah, look at this. Well, he's been terrible around the green, but he's overperformed his putting by miles. He's actually very good with his irons when it's difficult. I don't know. I just something just is not talking to me with Siwoo. Somebody I would be interested in is Keith Mitchell. Absolutely. In fact, I'm going to start making these a little bit bigger. That way we know who we're going to want to look at. Noren, quite interesting. Tagala, very interesting. Gosh, dang it. Scheffler's still quite interesting. I know I have Montgomery bolded. It's really hard to back him because I don't know. I don't think he's going to make the cut. Adam Hadwin is somebody that I'm very, very high on right now. Moving forward. What the hell? Come on. I'm going to take a look at English a little later. So, Adam Hadwin seems like he's going to be a core of any lineup that I'm moving forward with. And you got to think about if you want to use Scotty Scheffler, because if you're going to use Scotty Scheffler, that's going to take up a lot of your salary. I'm trying to figure out what in the world is going on here with this. That's what it is. There we go. So like if you're wanting to use Scotty Scheffler, you're going to be very slim pickings in terms of what all you can use, because I think Adam Hadwin is somebody that I would really, really want to look at strongly. He's been third in his irons. He's hitting a bunch of fairways, all of the greens, drastically underperforming his putting, and he's a decently good putter. Let's take a look at Davis Riley. What's Davis Riley's situation here? Again, note that whatever we see here, I have the difficult filter on. This course is going to be difficult with the wind picked up, all of that. So when it's difficult, Riley's been 37th around the green. So he's underperformed around the green. Overperformed slightly with the approach. He's underperformed with the putter. I mean, Davis Riley is somebody else. Like the way I'm seeing this, there's Keith Mitchell. He's been right at his base in terms of around the green. Slightly better with his irons than normal, but he is well known for off the tee, especially when it's difficult. He's been hitting fairways, he's been hitting greens. Yeah. So the way I like Scheffler quite a bit, but if you aren't comfortable going into the Scotty Scheffler realm, like I see quite a few in the 8Ks. I mean, all three of Keith Mitchell, Davis Riley, and Adam Hadwin, I like quite a bit this week, or this weekend, moving forward, and all of them have been positive in the wind. Maybe not the most positive, but they have been good in the wind. So there's a lot to like in these three players going forward. Like Mackenzie Hughes is doing Mackenzie Hughes things, so I can't say that I would be too terribly low on him because he's performing about what I thought. Like I said Wednesday night in the DFS Tactics show, if you think this is going to be a short game contest, a putting contest, then you want to pair Mackenzie Hughes and Denny McCarthy together. Well, you look, Mackenzie Hughes has been 10th around the green, 3rd in putting, and 2nd in scrambling. That's what he does. He's been a little bit better putting than his base, but you know, it's nothing so out of line that it's unbelievable. He's normally the 34th best putter on Bermuda. He's 3rd this week. I mean, it's high, but nothing out of the realm of possibility. His irons are generally pretty bad. He hasn't hit many fairways or greens, which, you know, you see this in the off the tee. The off the tee game is not his thing. Mackenzie Hughes is kind of interesting just because he's doing what you would think Mackenzie Hughes would do. But by all means, throw some names in chat if you want to see some specific players. Because as is, I'm just kind of going to go through players down here and see, you know, what's been kind of striking my fancy. Patrick Rogers, very good off the tee. He hits fairways and greens. He's been doing that. Around the green he's generally woeful, and he's been not terrible, and he's overperformed his putting metrics. Like, to me, Patrick Rogers is a fade this week or weekend for the weekend golf. I'm just going to go ahead and, like, S.H. Kim. He's been terrible with his irons. He's overperformed his putting. That's not a combination that I want to put a lot of emphasis into. Justin Suh, normally terrible in the wind, bad with the irons this week. He's been the 5th best putter when he's normally the 100th best putter. No thank you. Most of these players might not even make the cut. They're in danger of missing the cut. I'm going to take a look at Luke List a little bit later. Like Molinari, 108th in irons this week. He's generally not the best putter. Carl Yuan, James. Like, he hasn't hit many greens. Like, I'm not there with Francesco. All right, Carl Yuan. Let's take a look at Carl Yuan. He sits at 6,700. All right, so he has been 10th in irons this week. He hasn't hit many fairways, but he's been very good hitting greens. So that speaks to the iron play. He's generally been bad in the wind, but I imagine that is a very small sample. Yeah, he hasn't played a difficult round. So if I remove the difficult round filter, let's see what we got for Carl Yuan. He's been good off the tee. He only has 6 rounds. Normally a very, very bad putter. Sanderson Farms was Bermuda, but that's the only Bermuda he's been on. Shriners and Fortinet are bent. He's been 15th this week in putting. Around the green, generally hit and miss. Like, that's an outlier, clearly. He just had a bad round chipping. Everything to me is seemingly no on Carl Yuan. He has been... Don't get too hung up on how far these bars go down. These are both net less than 1/10 in terms of putting. That's not terrible in the grand scheme of things. He's been bad in the wind, the little bit of wind he's played in. Yeah. Until he shows that he is actually decent on the greens or not an unmitigated disaster. Because he's had 3 very poor putting tournaments to the start of his PGA Tour season. I think he is technically a PGA Tour rookie as well. Like, even at the RSM in 2021, he did not putt well. So he's generally not been a good putter. And again, we don't have the metrics for the Korn Ferry Tour, so he could have been a good putter on the Korn Ferry Tour. But everything that I've been seeing is a no on Carl Yuan. His strongest part of his game so far, 3 and now 3.5 tournaments in, has been his off the tee game, and he's not finding fairways this week. He's been a good ball striker. He had a bad Sanderson Farms, but he's been a good ball striker. Now that I look at it, I mean, he had a bad week with the Sanderson Farms, but I can't recommend Carl Yuan. I can't. You know, if this is a Bo Hostler type deal for you, James, then, you know, have at it. But analytically, I cannot recommend it. Brendan Steele, somebody that normally is a... Look at this. I mean, he has been 75th this week, which is not good, and he's overperformed by 42 spots. No thank you on Brendan Steele. Piercy, again, I like Piercy because of the wind, so I'm going to bold him and put him at 14 font. Like, I think Piercy's going to be good. Now, Smalley. Smalley hits a bunch of greens. That's what he's known for. He's generally putt mediocre. He's been decent this week. Let's look at Smalley. Because he had a huge day today to vault him into, I think, like tied for 17th or something. Let's look at difficult. Because he does play a difficult course as well. Or he has played difficult courses well the few times he's played them. Like off the tee, 18th. He's only 105th in fairways, so he's drastically underperformed, at least in fairways. Now, greens, you can see he's always very good. Around the green, 51st. He's actually underperformed around the green. Smalley is somebody that you could perhaps take an eye or put an eye on. I don't want any part of Aaron Rye. And while Justin Rose is good enough with the putter, he's normally 35th. Like, I'm just not there with Justin Rose or Aaron Rye. I do want to look at Gary Woodland because one of the bigger things that I have said Wednesday night was that if Gary Woodland made the cut, which he's going to make the cut, as that I think he's going to be dangerous on the weekend. And a lot of that is predicated on his prowess when it's difficult. And he's very good in the wind. He averages 1.1 strokes gained total in the wind. This week he's been 40th in iron play, so he's overperformed it a touch. Around the green, he's overperformed by a decent margin. He's never been really good with fairways, but he hasn't scrambled well. I don't know, like Gary Woodland to me seems like he should play well this weekend. This feels like the kind of course that Gary Woodland would enjoy, that what he would like, the conditions that he would like. Analytically, it doesn't really support him. This is, again, more of a hunch on my end. Ben Griffin, for that matter, I mean, yes, he has drastically overperformed his putting metrics, but he's been good scrambling. He's hit enough fairways. He's hit enough greens. The iron play isn't fantastic, but it's not an unmitigated disaster either. He hasn't played when it's difficult, though. I don't know. I would be much more higher on Woodland than Griffin at 7,600. What about Luke List? I wanted to check Luke List. He is obviously a ball striker, so him not finding fairways seems to be an issue, and he's been scrambling like no other. He's not generally good around the green, so he's been overperforming there. Like, that's a pretty clear. I think he's going to struggle the rest of the week. Let's see. Anybody down here that maybe looks interesting? Ryan Armour. What's going on with Mr. Ryan Armour? All right. He's good in the wind. He's underperformed his putting when it's difficult. He's generally played pretty good when it's difficult. Interesting. Let me bring up my mixed condition model leading into this week, and we will see how these have performed. I don't know why I have two of those up. That's weird. Okay. This is sorted on price. Let me sort by name, because I think that'll be easier. Sort D A to Z. Ryan Armour. Okay, so coming into the week, he's good at the par threes. Yeah, look at this. I mean, when it was difficult, bogeys and greens, pretty darn good. He was terrible around the green, and he's been mediocre, so he's probably overperformed in that regard, but scrambling has been bad. Putting, 23rd. In terms of Bermuda, he's been 53rd. So he's underperformed the putting a little bit. Number one in procs. Ryan Armour is interesting. It's very interesting this for the weekend. I don't hate a Ryan Armour. I do not hate a Ryan Armour at all. Like, the surprise player right now is Tyson Alexander. And he's got nothing that would signify that this was coming at all. He was very good around the green coming in. And he's been 33rd, but his irons were atrocious. The putting was atrocious. Par 3's terrible. I just don't see... I mean, this looks to be an aberration for Tyson Alexander. Now, he might have a good week, but, you know, in Showdown, when placement doesn't matter, everything says he should fall back down to earth. Molinax drastically overperformed his putting. What's he generally like? Because he generally does not play difficult courses well. Yeah, look at this. He generally does not play difficult courses well. He's never been good around the green, especially when it's difficult. He's okay in the wind, I think. Yeah, 0.4. But he hasn't been hitting fairways. Like, this seems to me like Trey Mullinax is overperforming heavily. I don't want any part of Cole Hammer. Travis Vick, Brent Grant. Those guys are not good in the wind, have not hit their irons very well. Let's see. Let's take a look at, well, look here, James Hahn, like, drastically overperformed his putting. What's he been doing when it's difficult? He's actually played pretty darn well when it's difficult. Come on, over here. 44th in approach, 65th. He's good around the green when it's difficult, and that's what he's been doing. It's just the putting. So I can't recommend James Hahn just because of the putting. That seems like it should fall back down to earth. Austin Cook's been the #1 putter this week. He's not close to being the #1 putter. No thanks. What about Callum Tarrant? When it's difficult, Callum Tarrant has been hitting his irons okay, but he's been terrible this week. He's generally not good around the green. He's overperformed that. He's overperformed his putting a little bit. Like, Callum Tarrant doesn't make a whole lot of sense this weekend. Stuart Sink, Max McGreevy. Zach Johnson could be interesting. Don't know if I'd love going down that far, but if you're trying to fit in a Scotty Scheffler, could be interesting. So, all right. These three are clearly making up my core. So any lineups that you are trying to build, this weekend, I think need to have Keith Mitchell, Davis Riley, Adam Hadwin, some combination of two of the three. Because again, with placement not mattering, it's just who you think is going to go the lowest on Saturday and Sunday. I have the most confidence in these three. So I'm probably going to be building some balanced-ish type lineups. So what you gotta think, what do you, if I'm gonna build a lineup with those three, say put them here, I top out, do you want to believe that Sahith Theegala, the putter, reverts back to somewhat the norm? And let's see what his, I mean, he's generally okay around the green. He's performed about what you would think with the irons, especially when it's difficult. Now, off the tee has been atrocious, so he's drastically underperformed his off the tee, or at least hitting fairways especially. So he's drastically underperformed. So do you want to believe in Theegala and the off the tee getting better and the putting getting better, or do you want to believe in Alex Noren keeping with the number one ball striking this week? I would lean towards Theegala, but I think Alex Noren will be fine as well. I really like, again, this is more of a hunch, but I like Gary Woodland quite a bit. I think Scott Piercy is interesting as well. He plays well in the wind. If I bottom out at Gary Woodland, gives me 8,300. That's Will Gordon, who, if he makes the cut, could be interesting, but there's no guarantee he makes the cut. So you're looking into kind of this range here. So if that's the case, let me clean this up. I'll go Hadwin, and then at 81, you've got several options. You could also look at Davis Thompson, but he's been 68th in putting. Sorry. Where'd he go? Davis Thompson, 68th in putting, and he's overperformed by 42 spots. What's he like normally around the green? Not the best. Especially when it's difficult. How about just total? Not good. So he's just not a good around the green type player. So I don't think I would want to factor Davis Thompson much, especially seeing that he is not great in the wind. So let's take a look at Putnam, Hughes, and Clark. And since I'm down here, let's look at Wyndham Clark. This was the mixed condition model heading into the week. When it's difficult, not too bad. 17th and 29th in bogeys and greens. He's been 7th in greens, so slightly overperforming, but nothing astronomical. He is number one in driving distance when it's difficult. And that is something that I did not bring over from Fantasy National, but we can look at. So let's do that. Who's been the driving distance gained players? Matthews, there's Molinex, there's Callum Tarrant, Woodland, there's Wyndham Clark 14th, so not terrible. Something you can also do, you can sort by position. It's not the best, but do it. Maybe it's at score? No. You can see, I mean, it's not terribly correlating. Is fairways been? No. Is it greens like I thought? Kinda, yeah. I mean, Westmoreland's right on the cut. No middling, shank, but all of these guys are comfortably in the cut. I wonder if scrambling. Oh, look at this! Look at scrambling. Look how important that is this week. That's pretty strong. It's pretty darn strong. Iron play, very strong up top. Around the green, not so much. Just shocking. Putting, huge factor. What has Clark done? Well, first let me bring that, and then when it's difficult, what's Wyndham Clark done? He's played pretty darn well. Off the tee, yeah. As iron play, he's overperforming. He's underperforming his around the green. Slightly overperforming his putting. Like Wyndham Clark seems just fine. We took a look at Hughes. He's doing Mackenzie Hughes type things. Here's the interesting one. Andrew Putnam. Putnam has underperformed his putting. He's generally one of the top 10 putters on Bermuda. Difficult. He is not usually very good ball striking, but he has been this week. But he's not been good around the green. And he normally is. So among these three, I think I like Wyndham Clark the best. And I don't know how I feel about Andrew Putnam seeing this, especially when it's difficult. Because he's generally a pretty darn good short game player. He's been putting just fine. Not as good as his base, but he's been putting just fine. His off the tee and his iron play have been pretty poor. And I guess he's been doing Andrew Putnam things, I suppose. But I think I'm the highest on Wyndham Clark, so I think that is the direction that I would go most often in terms of a weekend showdown lineup to start. Like I said, I'm very, very high on these three players. I like Wyndham Clark. Gary Woodland's more of a hunch. Like I said, the analytics don't particularly support it. Woodland's just kind of a hunch. And then, anyway, Tagala can be easily replaced with Noren if you want to believe that the irons stay as hot as they are. Jason Day, for that matter, if you think Day's putter comes alive, can be easily substituted in for Sahith Tagala. I just kind of like Sahith. If you're trying to build a lineup with Scotty, who I think he's going to be good this weekend. I really do. I think Scotty's going to be fine this weekend. You have to decide how comfortable are you coming down to. Let's take a look at Zach Johnson and see if I am... This is pretty bad when it's difficult. He's underperformed his putting, but he's drastically overperformed in iron play when it's difficult. Around the green, right about average, maybe even underperforming it a little bit. Whereas somebody like Ryan Armour has generally been pretty darn good and pretty darn consistent. What are these 16 rounds? So the Honda. I mean, you can see here, like, when it's difficult, look at all these negatives in terms of strokes gained total from Zach Johnson. Like, he's just generally not good when it's difficult. Generally speaking, the irons have generally been pretty bad when it's difficult. And he's been okay this week, so that seems like it should come back down to earth a little bit. Whereas if we look at Ryan Armour and his 13 rounds, he has the propensity to go very low or be very, very good when it's difficult. I think I'm just much higher on Ryan Armour down here in the 6Ks. So with that being the case, Scheffler and Armour would be the boundaries of a Stars and Scrubs type team. Again, Scheffler's going to be very expensive to fit in. You can do it, but if you're not going this balanced build, which again I think is more so the way to go, Scheffler, Armour, anybody in the lower set, like maybe Scott Piercy could be interesting. Alex Smalley, again, fairly interesting. Both of them play very well in the wind. Now Smalley has overperformed his putting, so you would expect that to come back down, but like Scott Piercy seems like he would be a solid bet this weekend to perform well, given that it is supposed to be very, very windy, and he plays in the wind very, very well. And this is filtered on difficult, which he's been very good when it's difficult, except for his irons. So you'd expect that number to come down, but around the green, 18th to 27th, basically right on his baseline. Yeah, I like Piercy quite a bit this weekend. Like I said, I think any lineup that you are wanting to do in terms of a weekend golf needs to have two of these three, I would think. I think all three are legitimately prime position to make a big run. I like Wyndham Clark as well. Mackenzie Hughes has done Mackenzie Hughes things, so if you believe that the iron play won't come back to haunt him, or if you continue to think that it's going to be a short game and putting fest, then use Mackenzie Hughes. But my assumption here is that if you're going Scotty Scheffler, you have to use a 6K. I just don't see any way around it. And I'm most comfortable with Ryan Armour. Ben Taylor is kind of interesting as well, but he doesn't have nearly the sample size that Ryan Armour does, and says Ryan Armour should be okay. I'm trying to avoid. Yeah, these are full weekend. Yep. And then after I'm done with the full weekend, we can look at Thursday specific, if need be, or I keep saying Thursday, Saturday specific. I am trying to avoid using anybody that I've highlighted in blue and orange, because I just don't see them making the cut. But if they do, they could be interesting. to think about, particularly Will Gordon, if he makes the cut. But I am under the assumption he won't, so I'm not going to generate any lineups with him. If you go Piercy, gosh dang, I don't know. Like, I still think Gary Woodland would have to be a factor into this, because you have, well, maybe not, because you have 8,300 here. You could go something to the effect of maybe like Alex Noren. This gives you 8,100, so you could do like a, I'm going to say Adam Hadwin because he's part of the core, but you can go like Adam Hadwin, Mackenzie Hughes, or, you know, Mackenzie Hughes, Wyndham Clark, Adam Hadwin, Andrew Putnam. You know, take your choice of your two 8,100s. But this is the kind of construction you're going to have to do to try to squeeze a Scotty Scheffler in. I think you have to go into the 6Ks. I think. We can try not to, but if you don't, you're going to be like Scott Piercy, actually, like Smalley, Piercy, or Spearsy, or Spieth, or something, whatever his name is. Piercy, Woodland. Yeah, I mean, you could do it, I suppose. Maybe not. You might not have to go to Ryan Armour. I do like Ryan Armour in the 6Ks. I guess you don't have to. Do something like Keith Mitchell. 8,200. So this is, you know, Will Gordon if he makes it. I'll put in Will Gordon in case he makes the cut, but more than likely it's going to be, again, just trying to use different names. I'm going to say Andrew Putnam, but, you know, take whoever you think is better at that 8,100. Like I said, again, I'm just trying to use different names, but most of my lineups are good. If I were to do Showdown, I'm probably going to be building around this balanced look. Maybe not go as far down as Sahith, like, you know, maybe try to fit an Aaron Wise in. Maybe I'd have to come down to like a Scott Piercy to do it. But, you know, Aaron Wise, maybe an Alex Noren. He might be too expensive even then. Like Wise, Tagala, Wise, Noren. I do like Keith Mitchell. Try to fit him in again. 77. I mean, that's like Gary Woodland. The problem is like I don't see a whole lot here in this area. Like Shelton seems like he would be okay if he makes the cut, but I don't think. Yes, there was a weather delay. They are done for the evening. Some guys will have as many as 9 holes to complete tomorrow. So that's another factor, and that's why I wanted to handle weekend golf different than the Saturday only. Like in terms of this area down here, like I just don't see anybody that is promising, because these guys are either generally bad in the wind, or those that have been ball striking it well have drastically overperformed their putting. So I just don't see anybody at 7,000 or upper 6. Like I said, Ben Taylor could be interesting at 67 if you don't want to use Ryan Armour. But really, it's kind of Ben Taylor, Ryan Armour. If you really, really need to save some money, maybe Zach Johnson, maybe. Otherwise, you know, I'm not going anywhere below, you know, Piercy and Smalley. So with that, Piercy. I really wanted to try to fit like a Wise and Norin together, or a Wise and Tagala, but oof. I'm just duplicating names. That's the issue. Like Ben Griffin and Gary Woodland. This team fits, but it's using a lot of the same players again. But there's another idea or shell of a team. So I'll give it a couple more minutes here for the full weekend contests, and then I'll take a look specifically at Saturday. And I won't be able to do the specifics. Like, I can make some lineups. The salaries will be a little bit off, because again, these are focused on the weekend contests. But while I'm waiting for chat, I'll bring up DraftKings off to the side here. See what I'm thinking about in terms of a Saturday only contest. What some of these prices are. So lobby. Go for third round. Okay. Let's see. Gosh dang it, wrong thing. Does Fantasy National have the round 3 up? Probably not, because there are still players to play. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that they have round 3 ready. Although the RSM Classic field is loaded. That might be something we do tonight as well, is take a look, just a casual glance at the RSM. Actually, I think I'm going to do that. But let's take care of this Saturday Showdown stuff. So, with Showdown, I shouldn't have closed it out, but let's go back to ESPN and we'll see if they're... Hey, look at that. Gonzaga beat Michigan State by 1. Well, there you go. There's your college basketball update for the evening. Course stats. So let's see if there's any particular part of the course that players can perhaps take advantage of in getting your 3 birdie streak. Well, the easiest hole has been 3. So everyone's going to play, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, all in the same thing. Everyone's going to play this part of the course together. Hole 1 is very, very difficult, so you don't want, like, anybody that's going like 17, 18, 1, 1 is killing, or has a very, very good chance of killing a 3 birdie streak in a row. 18, 1, and 2. Let's look at like 9, 10, like 11 is playing pretty darn difficult. At almost 2/10, but like you have the par 5 8th. The 9th is playing essentially right at par, just slightly over it, but by no means is, birdie impossible. Same with 10. So really, the only players that are playing this 8, 9, 10 stretch in a row will be the players that are starting off on hole 1. And the only reason I mention this is that there is a decent chance, I'm almost guaranteeing it, because there's going to be a delay. in the sense that you still have the second round to finish. My guess is that the PGA Tour decides to go off both tees tomorrow for round 3 to try to speed up and save time to get the tournament done on Sunday. With that being the case, and we don't know, we have no idea who's teeing off what holes and whatnot, I would give a slight advantage. I don't want to give it a lot because the course is still tough. Like, you're still playing 2 holes that are playing over par. But this is really about this whole front 9 stretch here with everybody plays together, or plays the same. But not everybody will play this 7, 8, 9, 10 stretch in a row. Some players will start on 10. So I would give a slight boost to those who are teeing off on hole 1 tomorrow, Saturday. A slight boost to them. Specifically in terms of players that are for sure to be in the cut, and who will probably, again, you just don't know where they're teeing off. But target players that are good in the wind, teeing off on the front 9. So let me make a off number 1. I mean, that may very well be the case because the second round hasn't finished. Because what I'm seeing here, I'm looking at the flop shot round 3, the full round 3, and you still have 12 hours. 13 hours. So that's putting it at 10:45 or so Eastern time tomorrow morning to get, so that way you can get the round 2 done. But you would slight advantage to the players when I say off number 1, teeing off number 1, good in the wind. So from there, of the players that I've focused on in terms of in the weekend contest, narrow it down a little bit further to the players who are teeing off on the front 9 or teeing off on hole number 1. Because again, I have to imagine that they're going to split tees tomorrow to try to get as much of round 3 in tomorrow as they can. You want to focus the players that are good in the wind. So, perhaps Jason Day is not the best choice because he's average in the wind. Perhaps Davis Riley isn't the best choice because he's slightly above average in the wind. But I'm thinking players like Gary Woodland, like Scott Piercy, Sahith Theegala, Taylor Montgomery, if he makes it. I highly doubt he makes the cut, but if he does make it, Taylor Montgomery would be pretty strong, would be my guess. I do like Adam Hadwin quite a bit. Keith Mitchell should be very, very strong over the weekend. Don't think I want any part of Harris English because he's been pretty bad in the wind. You have to believe the health is completely back. I just don't think it is yet. But that is a look at what I am seeing for Showdown this weekend for the Houston. I am going to take a little bit of a look here at the RSM now that that field is loaded. So we'll get a little bit of bonus tournament coverage, if you will. So I'm going to exit this out. Hopefully you all have enough, have taken enough notes or whatever. If you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to me. Social media, the comments of this video. I will be happy to help you. But I am curious to see who is in the field for the RSM. In the last 6 months, again, I'm not going to do a whole lot of research here. I just kind of want to take a look. Finau signed in for it. Montgomery, McCarthy, Brian Harmon, Nick Hardy, Seamus Power, Tom Hoagie. Interesting. This is the last tournament, official PGA tournament before the holidays, before Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all of that stuff. So, what I can do, let's take a look here and see who all's done what at the RSM. I'm going to exit out of DraftKings before I do something stupid and accidentally sign up for a contest. Yep. Let's just take a casual look here at the RSM. See who's done well there. RSM. Let's filter on players that have played it at least twice. What time do I think they'll finalize the cut tomorrow? I have no idea. My best guess, what time are they teeing off in the morning? If I knew that... Oh, yeah, that's the thing. How early do the round two guys go? They'll go early. I mean, as soon as the ass crack of dawn, they'll go. But the thing is, you've got some guys that have like an entire 9 holes to play. So if it's... And I think they're on Central Time, so I'm going to try to think in Central Times. They'll probably go at like 6:30 Central Time. So my guess is they would probably be done... I would think they would be done by about 9, and I'm trying to be aggressive in the sense that it gives you enough time to prep for your lineups. So I'm going to say that they'll be done by 9, and I'm trying to, like I said, be aggressive in that. So I would think you would want to have a good idea of the guys that you want to use, your lineups formulated and all that, because it will be important to see if players like Will Gordon, Taylor Montgomery, a couple of these guys that are on the fringe, if they're going to make the cut. Because I think Montgomery and Gordon particularly, if they make the cut, have a good... reason's not the right word. They have good metrics showing that they should rebound over the weekend. So I would think you would want to be probably prepped in all probably by 8:30 or so Central Time for your lineups for your Showdown. As far as I know, it will be on ESPN Plus. As far as I know. And then, regular coverage later on in the afternoon on Golf Channel or whatever. But as far as I know, it will be on ESPN Plus. Okay, let's take a look here and see some players that have played well. Hey, look there, Brian Harmon. He's 4 for 5. Average finish inside the top 40. He's here. He's in the field. Charles Howell III is now on live. Ooh, Corey Connors. Look at that. 4 for 4. Average finish of a 23rd. I don't know if he is here or not. No. That's a negative Ghost Rider. Doug Gim has played this event well. Henrik Norlander. JJ Spawn. Spawn should be easy to see if he's here. There he is. So JJ Spawn. Interesting. He's played this event well. John Huh has played this event very well. So one of the biggest things to note with the RSM is that it is a 2-course tournament like the Farmers, where you have Torrey Pines North and Torrey Pines South. The RSM has Plantation Course and Seaside. It is in Georgia. It is a very short course. Interestingly enough, a lot of it is past Palom. But you can see putting. It's a short game course. It is. Gosh dang it, mouse. All putting. Kind of like this week. 9 of the 12. Or excuse, yeah. 9 of the 12 par 4s here at RSM are from 400 to 450. Gives you an idea early on what metric we're going to look at and put a lot of weight into. Look at this cut line as well. -7 last year, -5, -5, -4, 5, 6. It's very easy. It's very easy, very short. So just a little bit of info for you all. If you are so inclined to do a little bit of very early research in terms of the RSM. Going to exit out of that. But that is going to do it for the Friday Night Chill stream. Normally, I would kind of continue on, play some games and whatnot. It's just been a very, very long week. I'm pretty tired. It's been stressful. So looking forward to just kind of relaxing the rest of the evening, catch up on some sleep. But thanks for tuning in and watching, everyone. Really appreciate it. James, let me know how the Showdown contests go. And for anyone else who tuned in, let me know how the Showdown contests go. And by all means, throw out some suggestions for content that you might want to see on Friday Night Chill streams. I'm open. If you want to talk about basketball, football, whatever, what games you might want to see me play or whatever, I'm open to a lot of different things. But as I mentioned, it's been a long week. Looking forward to just relaxing for a little bit. So I think the second Friday Night Chill stream is going to be a little bit shorter than usual. But good luck with all of your contests this week, especially in the Showdown. Hopefully your full week contests are going well. Mine are doing all right. I've got a 6 of 6. That's very, very strong. I've got a very, very strong 5 of 6 with Tony Finau and Patrick Rogers. So I've got a lot of potential this weekend. A lot of potential. So thanks for tuning in and watching, everybody. And I will see you Sunday night for the RSM Initial Research Show. So have a good weekend, everyone.